and welcome to the show. Today I have traveled all the way to Cuba. I am coming to you from the residence of the Cuban embassy, the ambassador's residence, and I am so excited. It's a great time. This is a celebration of the 65th anniversary of Cuba-Ghana relations, diplomatic relations. I'm excited that I get to sit with the ambassador herself. She's one woman that I admire so much, for so many reasons. And for me, especially today, we get to learn about Cuba, we get to know about her, and more importantly, we get to understand, that connection, that first diplomatic connection, but also the cultural connection between Ghana and Cuba, and all of the politics, in between. So welcome to the show. Your Excellency, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And actually, welcome to Cuba. As you said, you are in Cuban territory without a visa.
Without a visa. I have been dying to do this interview, so I have to say again, thank you for the opportunity, that I get to sit, with you. But I would like us to start from the country Cuba. If somebody is watching and doesn't know much about Cuba and is so curious about Cuba, what would you tell us, about Cuba? Maybe some history, brief background.
To talk about Cuba for me is very easy because I'm a Cuban that loves my country, and I'm 43 years old. Most of that time I spend it in Cuba, and I'm from Havana. Then I will talk about Havana. I'm so sorry for all those that are from the other parts of the country. But Cuba is a small island in the Caribbean Sea. It's small, it's like 40% of the Ghanaian territory. Then you can imagine we are small. We are more than 11 million in population. And we are an island with a very beautiful history. A history of struggling, a history of fighting, and we are proud of us. We are very proud of all that happened in our history. I can tell you that in our native people, those that, the Aborigines that were before the Spanish people arrived to Cuba in 1492, they were very strong Aborigines. And in 1492, when they arrived to Cuba, they decided that they discovered our country. But it's not true because we had some people before. The Spanish people came and they brought Nigerians and people from Congo. That's why we are half African and half from Spain. My father was from Spain, then that's why I look lighter, but my mother is like you. Then we are part and, we are half and half. And I have never made this ADN thing, but I'm sure that we are so mixed that you cannot understand. For example, my last name is Xiao, and some people think it's from China, but it's not. It's from Spain, from Lugo. And I'm trying to give you this information just you to see what is happening in Cuba. We dance like Africans, and we look like Spanish people. And we talk Spanish, not very beautiful. Sometimes the people from Havana, we cut the words and this. As you want to learn Spanish, don't do it with us. Don't do it with us. Don't do it with us. Then in Cuba, first was Spain and our metropolis. And after that, in 1898, we won the war. We had a long time in war, and we won it. And let me tell you that the United States came and they took advantage of what happened at that moment, and they came in a new colonial way. And from that moment, from 1902, we began a new era in Cuba with presidents that we elected, but those presidents work for the United States interests. That's why in 1959, January the 1st, we decided to make our revolution to triumph. Then in 1959, everything changed. why a revolution. So in some countries, they said that maybe we can make some changes, not in a revolution, but in our way. In our case, we have to make a revolution because we have to change everything from the root. If you want to change a system, you need to do it from the root. That was our experience. In 1959, as I told you, was the triumph of the revolution, and then in 1960, everything changed, not in the way that the United States wanted. That's why all the relations with Cuba and the United States changed, and that's why we are in the place we are. And I don't want to take the other question that I'm sure you will make about us, because it's very famous, the blockade on Cuba.
I have to say thank you for this background, because, and you're right, most of us have had relations with the West in terms of colonization. And most of us, like in Ghana, we struggled for independence in another way. But Cuba did a revolution. That's the difference, isn't it? Which you explained beautifully. So immediately, I can understand where this is coming from, because a revolution is very different from an independence struggle. So the revolution then has led us now to a blockade, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. No, am I right?
Yes, you're right. But the revolution is not only to change the system and to continue in the same way to do things. Revolution, as I told you, is to change from the root. Then we decided to change also the way that we are making things, and we decided to be socialist. And that was a big change also for that relation, that relation that I told you with the United States. In 1959, as I told you, was the triumph of the revolution. Then on December 1959 was the establishment of the relations between Cuba and Ghana. This is only, I'm spoiling what we will talk later. And then in 1960 began many difficult sanctions against Cuba, because the United States, they realized they won't change us. And Fidel Castro was a wonderful leader. He was not only our commander-in-chief. It's like we feel he's not with us, but we talk about him like he's alive. He was like our father, and then he gave us the light, and the United States didn't like that light, because that light was against their interest. Then in 1960, they began to sanction us with some things, with fuel, and after that the sugar and the nickel, and we were very dependent on them. That's why our economy was very weak when they took all their things from us. Also, they began to prohibit them to export to Cuba. They decided to allow some medicines and some food at that time, but in that time, before they approved it officially, we had some sanctions. After that, in 1961, they were the first defeat of the United States in Cuba. It was in Playa Girón, that the people know that Pig Bay. It was the first victory of Cuba. It was on 19th April, very close to the date we are talking today. And in that moment, 3 days before, on April 16th, we decided to make socialist our revolution, as I told you. And then, after that, Kennedy, in February the 3rd, 1962, he signed an executive order starting the blockade against Cuba. In the beginning was an embargo, because in the beginning were some sanctions against Cuba, only against Cuba. But right now it's a big blockade. When they extended the blockade to some other countries, to a third party, they make it a blockade and not an embargo. We are thinking on the era where you have a castle and then you have to make walls, food them to die because of starvation, or them not to get water, them to die, or them not to get medicine or doctors, or they are trying to do that to us for more than 62 years now. The blockade is so hard that I can tell you that my people sometimes they need a light to see the future. But Cuba, maybe because of the blockade, maybe because of our history, maybe because of we are an island, and the people in an island, we are happy persons, we are resilient, and we continue working even with the blockade.
Right. So a few things I picked up. First, socialism, right, as a system. I'd like us to talk about that briefly. And then we'll come back to maybe explain further the difference between the embargo and the blockade, what it means for international global relations for Cuba. So let's start with socialism. Do you think that today, in 2024, that socialism is still, the best ideology, policy for any state? And I'm saying this because socialism has come under lots of attack. People say, look at all the socialist states. How are they doing? Why are you still preaching socialism? What would you say to that?
Let me invite you to make a reflection. When we women couldn't vote, what happened? When we women wanted to vote and we went to the street and we decided to go and fight for our vote, what happened? That was a human right, and they didn't recognize it to us. Then, and we went to fight, and they said that those women, they were crazy. Then they attacked all of those women. That's it's happening with the socialism. Socialism is economical and social. I'm trying to translate that from Spanish, because I made philosophy in Spanish, not in English. Formation, and it is one where you put the human being in the center of everything. It's not like capitalism. In capitalism, what it is important is the money.
Profits.
And then in socialism, you get that money and you try to distribute it among all the people, trying them to get the same opportunities. It's not to have the same things, it's to have the same opportunities to get their development. That is happening in Cuba. That's why, as we are different, and normally differences are was like a problem, that's why we are under attack. But I do think that we can do what we want because we are a sovereign country. I cannot say Ghana to do anything in my way because you are Ghanaians. You decide what you will do with your country. In the United States, they have their way, but they are from the United States. They decided which president they will elect and all of that. Then, in our case, allow us to do what we want without a blockade. If they think that our system is a failure, then allow us to have a real life without a blockade and allow us to make the mistake.
Right.
We want to have a socialism, then allow us to have our socialism. We won't make you any problem.
Right.
But we are in the backyard of the United States. I didn't tell you when I was talking about Cuba that Cuba is 90 miles from the United States. 90 miles. Only 90 miles is 45 minutes from Cuba to the United States in an airplane. And for them, not only Cuba, also the Latin America is like the backyard. It's very difficult for them to understand that a small island there in the Caribbean Sea defeat us. And that small island there in the Caribbean Sea that we wanted to have our casinos, to have our hotels, to have all the experiments, to have our clubs there, not to say and not to talk about what wanted to do with us, with women. That island changed everything, only with the revolution, only with a man that was a big visionary guy. A man that studied in the capitalism, that came from a family with some resources, and that man decided to be socialist because he was a good man.
Right. Okay. So do I take it that, and I'm coming back to this issue of the blockade, in the right context, do I take it that when it was an embargo, it was just about Cuba? The blockade now says all companies that are subsidiaries, you can't do business with Cuba. So then the blockade then tries to make it more global, where other institutions, corporate organizations, even countries are not able to now deal with Cuba. Am I right?
You are right.
Okay.
And in 1992, in 1996, they implemented two new laws, Helms-Burton and Torricelli, and with those, they expand the blockade to third countries. I'm telling you that those banks that make some agreements with us, they will have fines, very big fines, huge fines. I can tell you that, for example, if we want some fuel, it's very difficult for us to get it because they sanction the company and they sanction also those that will transport the fuel, and they sanction those insurance companies that are taking care of those things, the fuel and the ships they are bringing the fuel. It's very difficult to live like that. And now we have a new problem. Trump was thinking in his era as president, actually let me tell you, in the time of coronavirus, he decided to implement 243 sanctions in coronavirus on Cuba. Because they are trying to put us in a pressure cook. They are trying us to explode, and it's something very, very difficult when you are not ideologically correct. Then Trump was thinking on including us in that list that the Department of State of the United States issued. That is the list on state sponsors of terrorism. And then Biden did it. Right now, we are in that list, and we are working very hard. We are struggling again, because if you are in that list, everything is more difficult for us. Because thinking on a country like Cuba, that all time spread solidarity in Africa, in even Europe, in times of coronavirus, thinking that Cuba is a terrorist is like a stupidity, but they included us in that list.
Right. I will come to the UN in a minute, but I want to stay on Cuba's relationship with the world. Has it been, how has it been affected, by all of this, by all of the embargoes, by the blockade, now being actually identified as a state-sponsored, terrorist, states, so to speak. How is it affecting your relationship with the world? Before we come to Ghana.
In Cuba, we say that when you are in a bad moment, is the moment where you learn who are your friends. Then it is true that our commercial, financial, and economical thing is very affected on the blockade. But we discovered that we have many friends all time supporting us. It's not enough to have a normal life in Cuba because of the blockade, and some of those friends are so far, like the Ghanaian solidarity. But we continue working with those friends and also with the states. Cuba has diplomatic relations with many countries, and we have how can I say, a foreign policy like a big country. Cuba has 125 embassies around the world.
125
yes. As we are a huge country, but we are not. And I can tell you that our embassies, they are the most, how can I say, humble and simple, because we don't have the huge amount of money that like normally diplomacy, but we work too much. We work too much, and we are confident that working together, we can get more.
I have relatives. I have an auntie. I can mention her name. I call her Auntie Tetra. You would know her as Sarah. Who schooled in Cuba so many years ago. There's a whole community in Ghana of people who went to school in Cuba. And I'm still thinking, I'm scratching my head, like, how are you able to do this in spite of the blockade and embargoes and, all of the strife that as a country you are facing? How are you able to extend yourself like that and involve people from other countries to come and learn from your country? I don't know. How is this happening? How are you doing this?
All time in our history, we have to return to Fidel Castro. Because when you have a leader like him, you can find that, yes, it is true that we have many other people there working for Cuba, but Fidel Castro was the brilliant mind. In 1959, in our banks, we lost more than 400 millions, get those that amount from the people of the former president before of the revolution. Then we didn't have money. A part of that, many of our professionals went to the United States or to other countries, not to stay because of the revolution, because the propaganda against Cuba was so huge that was very difficult. And Fidel Castro didn't have at that moment not resources, not a country where you can have a good commercial exchange, and not even professionals. Then what he has? He decided to work with the small things we had and then to build any country. And he understood, as a country, as a small island, without too many resources, we must develop our human resources. That's why we did that with our medical people, with our doctors, our medicine school. That's why we decide also to help the South, because we think that the cooperation, South-South cooperation, is the one that can help all the South just to be the global South that right now we are talking too much. Then the idea of Fidel Castro was to plant a seed in every country, then to develop themselves. We didn't want anything for us. We just wanted them to be bigger for their countries. That's why your auntie and many of my friends here in Ghana studied in Cuba.
Wow. I can't begin to, think just how brilliant, a concept that is. Because what it means is that you have other nationals as your ambassadors, spread across the South.
It is true. It is true. And that's why I'm wearing this t-shirt today. Then allow me to tell you, because I'm so happy to tell that the Cuban train we lost. Then we are in a battle now with the Cuban train,
right,
because we are planning to have an official final game, baseball game, on 11th May.
11th May.
Then we are the team Cuba, and they are the team Uzbekistan. All together we are the team Cuba Ghana. Then we are trying to do some things, just all the Uzbekistan, those people from the Association of Cuban Train.
What do you call them? Say that again, please.
Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan. What does it mean?
Don't allow me to tell you, because I don't know. I don't know. No, but it is the association of all the people that were trained in Cuba.
In Cuba.
They are more than 2,000. Yes, I cannot tell you how many doctors. Right now, I cannot tell you that. But yes, and very soon will come, next year will come a batch of 300. They are finishing in Cuba.
Goodness.
They are finishing in Cuba medicine. They don't want to come back. they want to stay there.
Of course.
They are happy. They are happy.
Of course. I want us to take a break. When we come back, we'll stay on
yes,
that
please.
Community. I have a personal story to tell.
But I will win.
Welcome back. Welcome back to our time with Her Excellency Annette Shao Garcia. She is Cuba's ambassador to Ghana. So, Your Excellency, just before we took the break, we're talking about the Cuban trained, can I call them a brigade?
No, it's a team.
It's a team.
I do prefer a team, yeah.
Okay. And, 2,000
yes,
of
more
them.
Than, yeah.
And we are going to add on, another 300. I was telling you before that I have a personal experience, because most of them are the health specialists we have in the country right now. But I realized that beyond them, there are also Cuban doctors. Beyond the Cuban trains that we have in the country, there are Cuban doctors who are here. And Your Excellency, you know my story. They saved my mother's life, right? And I'm getting emotional as I talk about it. But, these are people who are in this country and they are working selflessly with our doctors on the field. And I want to ask you, I hope that the experience you're having in this country is good enough. How is that working out? Because you go to sometimes even remote hospitals. I know that they even used to be in places like Mampong and things like that. What's the experience like? Is it fulfilling? It's also part of Ghana-Cuba relations, right? Are we treating them well? Because they are saving our lives. Are we?
Yeah, it's true that actually 65th anniversary is too long. Yeah, when you say 65 years is a long time in a life, and more for us. Our relations were established by Fidel Castro and Kwame Nkrumah, and they had that historical meeting after that in Teresa Hotel there in Harlem, in New York, and from that moment, we began our collaboration. You know, for Nkrumah was very difficult all that time because he had many things against him. The United States leading those powers against him, and then we decided to collaborate in many fields. In those 65 years, I can tell you, we did it in the medical field, we did it in sports. We had here for a long time boxers trainer. We did it in the biological thing with the Labiofam, one Cuban company working against the mosquito. We did it in education and in the training of many of your security people. And also, we are thinking on diversify that collaboration. And talking about the brigade, it is true, sorry, I didn't tell you right. We have a Cuban medical brigade right now with 28 doctors. I'm so proud of them. They are my Team Cuba, and they will win. I continue with that. I know the Cuban train, they won't forgive me, but it's okay. It's okay. We will win. And my medical brigade, they are in many places. Before we had more. We get a moment where we had more than 200. At that time, they were in Mampon, in Tamale, in many places. Right now, we have in Sunyani, we have in Cape Coast, in Secondi, in Ho, here in Rich Hospital and EMC, and in Koforidua. And I hope I didn't forget anyone. Then in those places, they are not too much, but they are trying to give Ghana their heart. As you know, the first year I was here, I prepared many medical outreach. Now we are working in some other things because we are trying to diversify, and now we are in sports as part of this 65th anniversary. And the 65th anniversary is not only in sports. We are planning different programs finishing in December, on 23rd December, that we will make the celebration of the anniversary of our relations between Cuba and Ghana.
And Ghana. Are we treating you well?
Yes. Actually, I feel like I'm part of you. You know, you are my family. Then I don't want to talk about our private things, but we share our parents.
Right.
Then that's part of my life here in Ghana. And I have many friends that I love, friends that I can give my life for them as they are giving their help to Cuba. I talked to you before that right now we have a brigade there in Cuba from TUC. They are there in the 1st May International Brigade. They are in voluntary works. They are working with the Cuban people, learning how Cuba is doing and all this. And also those people, they get in their baggages, they took some small portions of medicines to make a donation to Cuba. That medicines were given to us from Svani Group. And thank you very much. Thank you very much to Svani Group and to them that brought the medicines to Cuba. And they will give it to Quisicuaba, one Cuban project that is led by an MP in Cuba. And he's giving food to all those people. They are in the street. They are getting all those people from the street and they are giving food to them. They are taking care of them. They are sharing medicines with hospitals. And that's why we are trying to help that project. And they are doing that in Cuba.
So, I mean, and I wanted to save that for last, this relationship in the 65 years. But I realized that it's very mutually beneficial, right? It's a beautiful, is there something you think we should do more off, do you think that there are aspects of the relationship that we can make better?
You know, this is a question you cannot make to me. I'm perfectionist. Then, as a perfectionist person, every day I have a new plan. I'm so sorry for my staff. Every day I have a new plan, I have a new idea.
Right.
Then I think, yes, we can do more,
right.
but we can do more always, and it depends on us to be together. Because that idea, for example, of the medicines, Svani Group gave us the medicines, and then the people from TUC took the medicines to Cuba. And now the people in TUC in Cuba, they are working and helping and all this, and they are giving that to a project in Cuba. And that project will help those people that they have many problems, because some of them, they are not they are not in a good shape, you know, in the mind, and this, they have mental problems, and they normally they don't have all the affect, all the love, all the things because of the blockade. It's very difficult to understand. Many people say that we always talk about the blockade, but it's part of our life every day. You cannot get medicines freely from any country. You cannot. You cannot take the raw materials from any place, because if they have more than 10% of something of the United States, you cannot get it. If that company has a relation with the United States, you cannot get it, because the company doesn't want to have a fine. And then to do things, we have to do it like that, and it's difficult to live. But if we do it together, if we make that cooperation South real, we can get more for Ghana and for Cuba. It depends on us. Right now, we are working in Yo Si Puedo. Yo Si Puedo is a program to fight illiteracy. We are planning to have a video conference very soon between our Ministry of Education and your Ministry of Education here, because we want to do it, but more for women. For the Cuban Revolution, women are very important. I can tell you that, for example, more than 66% of the professionals in Cuba are women. And I can tell you that more than 50% of all our high post positions, they are women in them, because Cuba is taking care of women. Then why cannot us help Ghana in that field also? Because we, women, we can make also more if we are together. We don't need to fight men. This is... we just need to have the same opportunities. And you are very strong. You know, in my bedroom, I have two small statues from that lady in Kumasi that lead the thing. She is the one. Then you have a history. Your women, they have all the power and all the love that you need. Why don't you do it that now? And we need education.
Absolutely.
That's why when I talk about the socialism, and I said that to have the human being in the middle is like what a human being needs. Any human being needs first the clean environment, because if you are not in a clean environment, your health will be damaged. And then you need health, you need environment, clean environment, and you need education. Because if you don't have education, how can you develop yourself, your family, your country? And then is the family the most important cell of the society?
Right.
It's very difficult to run a country, I'm sure about it. And then in my country, what we did, we tried to enforce those fields. For example, in education, we are giving 20% of our budget. And in health, 26% of the budget of the year, this year. We are trying to work even if we have that blockade that is making us very difficult.
Sorry to catch you, Excellency. I was going to ask a question about the life of the average person in Cuba, you know, and how maybe this blockade is affecting, you know, that one person, you know, in Cuba. I'm guessing that it won't be the same. It will be different, maybe based on where you live. maybe based on, who you are. And I appreciate that socialism equalizes. But even in that equalization, I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking too much. But could you briefly explain to us what this blockade means for the average person in Cuba, everyday person in Cuba?
Socialism, let me go that first. Socialism give you the same opportunities.
The same opportunities.
Yes,
like
but you cannot give the same to anyone because you won't need what I need. It depends on the person. Even the priorities are different, and the idea of success, and there are many things that change. Also, the skills, because maybe you are a wonderful journalist, I'm not. I don't know what I'm wonderful in, but then that's not but sometimes
everything else.
I'm really worried about this because I said I'm a person that I can talk about everything, but I cannot talk specifically about something important.
That's not true.
No, but it's part of my internal debate.
Right.
Then, talking about the socialism, we gave all the person all the opportunities. But I can talk about my experience. It's very difficult to be a Cuban. It's very, very difficult. I remember when my son was small. My son now, he's 18 years old. But at that time, he was 4. I was separated from my husband. Then my husband, not from his father, is not my husband. Then I was separated, and I was running all time. The transportation in Cuba is very difficult. How can you have a good transportation if you don't have fuel? How can you have a good transportation if you cannot get the spare parts? How can you have a good transportation if you cannot fix all the streets in a good way? Not because the government doesn't want, it's because you don't have money to do it. You cannot get the spare parts in a good price. As I told you, we are very close to the United States, 90 miles. If we can get a normal commercial exchange with them, we can get the things very cheap. But it's very difficult because we cannot. And they are talking, sometimes they are telling that yes, we allow them to buy food from us, we allow them to buy medicines, but let me tell you first, to buy food from the United States, we have to do it in cash. This is not normal in the commerce right now in the world. We must do it in cash, in advance, and we cannot sell to them. And also, those people that will sell to us, they need a special license. Sometimes I think that the blockade is also affecting their people. You know, the not American, I'm American also. The United States people, the people from the United States, they cannot travel very free to Cuba. And Cuba is so beautiful. They are losing many things in Cuba.
Okay. So because you took me right there, let's talk about that.
That's opportunistically.
Let's talk about that because you took me there. Let's talk about it. I've heard about how beautiful Cuba is.
Yes.
I've heard about, the beaches. I've heard about how just, there's a word that I saw in a book. Oh, doesn't come to mind immediately, but they use a very peculiar word to describe the beaches of Cuba. My mom has been, my dad has been. They tell me it's beautiful. Let's talk about that. I mean, tell me about Cuba. Where should I go in Cuba?
Oh, you can go to any place. We are on a small island, but in every provinces you will find beautiful places. And as an island, we have many keys around, like Cayo Guillermo is one of the keys. Guillermo is a name. It's not or Cayo Santa Maria, San Mary will be the literal translation. Or you can go to Cayo Las Brujas, and those keys, they have virgin beaches. And then you will find there a tourism very, very relaxing. But also you can go to Havana, my province. That is a tourism, but the city tourism. But we have an old Havana. And this is the old part of Havana, where you can find many houses very close one to the other, and then many places where you can listen the traditional Cuban music and the people dancing in the street and the Cuban food that is so good. very, very good Cuban food. And also, you can go to, for example, Trinidad. Trinidad is in the center of the island where my family lives. And you can go to Pinar del Rio. Pinar del Rio is in the western part of the island. Or you can go to Santiago de Cuba, where the rest of Fidel Castro are there. The ash of Fidel Castro are in a stone there in Santiago de Cuba, in our city of history, is the historical city of Cuba. And you can go also to Guantanamo. In Guantanamo, we have a place, the name is Baracoa. It's the first city what's the name of that? When the Spanish people came, the first city they made. And that city is one of the most beautiful places in landscapes. They have so beautiful landscapes. If you go to Cuba, you can go around and you will see many things. Another thing that is very good in Cuba is the culture. Because part of our love of culture came of this education on culture that they gave us. I'm talking about the government. It is important in Cuba you to go to the museums, part of the things in the school. We have many museums. They are very, very cheap. And books, you can go to any bookshop and they are very, very, very cheap, the books. That's why it's difficult for us to get more books, because we don't have all the money to buy the paper and then the ink and all this.
Right. But what's your special relationship with Nigeria? Because when you do a casual reading on Cuba, even from Google, it says you share a language.
We share the religion. We have an Afro-Cuban religion. The name is Santeria. And we got from them all the saints. We have many of them. And we use those saints in our religions. I'm not religious, I'm atheist. But it's part of our life. As I told you before we begin the interview, we have one of them, the name is Elegua. They use to say then in the Afro-Cuban religion, and we have Yemanja and Oshun, and sometimes when you are talking with the Cuban people, you must learn those small things, because we talk like that's normal. And then that religion is in Cuba and in Brazil. And in Nigeria, they have the old language in Nigeria, and then in Cuba we use a different language, but it's close to the Nigerian original language.
Right. Okay. So let's come to Ghana. Let's come to Cuba and Ghana. I mean, lovely, Cuba, because I'm in Cuba right now. I every time I come here, I'm happy. I'm excited.
Thank
you. You host a lot of events here. I mean, I want you to be specific, about your experience in Ghana. If you ask me to talk about your experience in Ghana, I can give you a whole day. I can talk a day, right? But I want you to tell us, how has it been, coming from Cuba to Ghana to be the ambassador here? What's the experience been like? Let's talk about the food. Let's talk about the music. How have you found Ghana?
For me, it's an emotional question, or maybe the answer is the one that is emotional because it comes from heart. I arrived here in September 2021, and that was not my first time here in Ghana. I came here in 2018 as protocol of my vice president at that time. And for me, that time was very good, very, very good. I met Rollins at that time, and Nana Konedu, and I met the president, the current president, and all. And when I came here, it was like coming again to a place very easy for me. And I met very good friends, as I told you, that I love, like your father, that I love him very much. And, I remember the first time I called your father, I called him and I said, "Are you Kwesi Pratt?" He said, "Yes, I'm the new Cuban ambassador." I said, "Oh, wow, like your father talks, yeah?" And I told him, "I'm calling you because I need your blessing." He was laughing. He said, "I'm atheist, I cannot bless you." It was a joke. I just want to meet you because I'm here and all of that. And then from that moment, it was very easy. talking about the Ghanaian food for me is difficult, and you know that. You are very bad because you know me very well. It's very hot. In Cuba, we don't need hot pepper. We don't eat it. And then for me, when I eat, it's like, oh my God, oh my God. But I love the granite soup without the hot pepper.
Right.
I love the guache. I love the stew, but without pepper. The coco yam stew without pepper.
Without the pepper.
My cook, she's very good, and then she make it without pepper for me.
Right. You know what I love about your food? The cassava. What you do with the cassava?
Only we boil it until the cassava is soft. We don't eat it hard, we eat it soft. And then we made a mojito. The mojito is with onion and garlic. There are some people that do it only with onion. There are some people that love only garlic, it depends. And you put some lemon in it. And that flavor came.
Wait, you put lemon in it?
Yes, in the mojito. You put oil and then you, as we do it here in the house, you put oil and then you put onion. When the onion is cooked, you know, we see that it's sleepy, but it's, you know, when it's transparent, when the onion is transparent,
Right.
you put the garlic,
Right.
and then in the end you put some lemon, because we don't have here naranja agria. It's the orange that is a little bit that we have in Cuba.
Right, right. So take out the pepper and the food is fine. We eat cassava too.
Yes,
but in a
way.
different way.
Yes.
In a different. What would you say are similarities?
For example, guache.
Watch it. Really?
We have something that is close to guache, that is moro y cristiano or con gris. We are not clear which one is the black and the white rice, but we do it together like guache. It's very common.
Right.
And as we came from Nigeria, we are closer to them. You know, we are very closer to them. I went to Nigeria a few weeks ago, and for me was a huge experience. Not because of the country, it's like I came to see my ancestors. You know,
Right.
it's something good.
Right.
I didn't have too much time, but it was very good because of that.
Right.
But guache is one of those food that
Similarities.
yeah.
Let's talk about music. Let's talk about music. How do you find out music?
I love it, you know. There is a video there in Facebook from one, what's the name of the thing you make on Mondays? Monday Groove.
Monday Groove.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed because I was dancing and I didn't know it was live in Facebook.
Yeah.
And then many persons was writing me, I saw you, say, oh my God. I'm so because I love to dance. I love
you
to
love
dance.
the high life, don't you? The beats.
I can tell you, I love every music.
Right.
Every music. I studied first Spanish dance in Cuba when I was 4. I began, and after that
That's
I
why
studied
you can dance like that.
classical ballet. Yes, I finished the National School of Classical Ballet, and then you imagine I love that. I love to dance.
Classical ballet.
Yes, I
My
love that.
goodness. You're
And after that, I went to the army. Then it's something like all my life is.
Wait, let's talk about this. Let's stay here. You went to the army. You've done classical dancing.
Yes,
ballet dancing.
I finished in by 9th grade, and then I went to the army because they have a high school in the army that was very well organized, very good. And then I decided to go there for 3 years, and I began my career in the army. But I decided not to be, in the army anymore because I'm not so disciplined like that, you know.
Oh, I disagree.
I'm disciplined, but I don't like people to tell me, you have to do this without an explanation. I need them to convince me. I need them to tell me, you have to do this because of this and this. I'm very ideological.
Right.
Then if you tell me that I have to cut my hair, no, actually I did it because I wanted. If you tell me that I have to leave my hair longer, because, I don't know, something important, I say, okay, I understand, I will do it. If you don't explain me, I cut it. Maybe I take it off.
Right. Right.
But in the army is different. There are some people, lovely, they can be there, but not for me.
Not for
and then I finished my law school in the University of Havana.
My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. I have to ask a personal question. You are here. We love you. I have to say, we do. But, I mean, army, dancing, law, is there something you can't do?
A lot of things.
Like what?
I don't know.
I mean, what can't you do?
I don't know. I don't know.
There's a question I've always wanted to ask you. You are hurt, right? I mean, you're hurt. Sometimes I'm with you and I forget I'm with an ambassador. You understand what I'm saying? You are hurt. Which one came first? I want to believe that heart came before diplomacy. No?
I think yes, and I think my grandfather, he worked for the revolution and he fight for the revolution. He was in the clandestinity and all this in Cuba. You know, I don't know if that word was right. Is he was not doing things not underground for the revolution before the revolution triumph, and he was so proud of the Cuban Revolution, and he gave us that. My mom, she's an official. She was in the Communist Party, in the Central Committee for a long time until 2 years ago, and now she's working. She continues working with the government. But I'm not doing that because I have to. My heart is with the good things. And I can tell you, I don't know tomorrow if I continue as a diplomat or if I continue in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but I can tell you for sure that I will fight for the revolution, because I realized that the system, the Cuban system, the Cuban Revolution is the best thing that we had. When you see countries like Haiti or Dominican Republic or some other countries, I said, I don't want that for my people. I do want for my people, them to be educated, them to decide for themselves, because that's the important thing. In our country, you know, the United States, they are all time talking about the human rights, and they are talking that we are not doing this and that, and also the European Union and blah, blah, blah. And, but I think that if my country wants, my people, the Cuban people wants to change the government, they will do it. Allow us to decide what to do. But I can tell you for sure that the system we have is the best we can have. We must change many things. We must make changes to be better. But that's life. We are not perfect. Actually, what is perfection?
Right.
We don't know what perfection is. We don't know not even what democracy is, but we won't go to that part because we won't finish ever. But what I do know is I have to fight for the revolution, always with the revolution.
Right. I said I wasn't going to get too personal, but allow me to share this experience. It was on the day of my mom's operation. You came very early in the morning. You came to speak with her. You assured her. I sat there, I watched you. You stayed throughout. This is hours and hours of an operation. We call you grandma for a reason. Yeah, we do. For a reason, because you were there for her, but you were there for us. And you're also there for the doctors, because I saw you'd ask them to take a break. You insist, go and eat. You even came with food, no?
Yeah, they sent me the food later, yeah. But I didn't eat. I was so nervous.
I was about to say food that you didn't even eat, right? And I have to say this to you. Thank you. I've always wanted to say this to you. Thank you for that, and thank you for the heart, right? Thank you so much. But then it's an indication also of the relationship between, you know, it's personal for me, but it's also broad. It's twofold, and maybe use that opportunity to maybe share how fundamentally we may be different because we are from different countries, but fundamentally it's just a soul and a spirit, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's the Cuban people.
Right.
We are like that.
Right.
We are warm. We are people that when I see my friends, I hug them because I feel like I need that oxytocin, you know, to go out. It's something beautiful. And we are warm, and we like to enjoy. And if we are sad, we cry. If we are happy, we laugh with all the, you know, all the teeth. And if you want to dance, you dance. If you want to drink, you will be drunk, because we are like that. we are Cubans. And then we said, if we don't get the point, we will pass because this is the Cuban people. We don't know where is the middle, but we are the best friends you can get. We are those people that we died for our friends. And that's why, because I'm part of you.
I love that. 65 years.
Yes.
That's 65 years.
That's good. Our relations are
65
now
years.
very old, yeah.
65 years. What are we doing? How are we celebrating this? This is like a human being. This is like an old man.
The first
65
one,
years.
the first one, as I told you, will be that I will win. I will win. I will win. For the Cuban train, I will win. I will win. Yes. Then we are planning this game. The game will be on 11th May.
11th May.
Yes, against the team Esbecan.
Right.
And
Where should we come and watch this now?
I don't want to tell now because I have to talk to the boss of this place just to arrange any details. And but you know, we had 2 training days, and maybe you can show the public later the video of the training people. We enjoyed that. And the first game we won 24-4. We won, and then the second one they won. It was 24-23. Then I hope the last one will be for us. I hope that. But we are planning some other things. We are planning to have a journey there in Tamale in July, because as you know, our what's the name of the Rebellion Day is July 26th. And then we will go to Tamale to do an outreach, not with the medical brigade, will be with the Cuban residents, because something very important here is that we have some Cuban residents. They are not too much, they are around 100, but they are included in our activities. They are working for Cuba. Those people in the north, they send many medicines when that problem with the explosion, the big explosion that happened in Cuba, they send medicines, and they will make that outreach there in the north in July. That's another activity we will make, and some other things that we are planning, like event with the Solidarity in May. And in December will be the huge one, as I told you, because of the anniversary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. As you were talking about the medical supplies, I'm sorry to take us back, but it reminded me again of COVID.
Yes.
You know, and how Cuba dealt with COVID and survived in spite of the blockade. Because at that time, all of us were heavily donor dependent. You know, it's a time that everybody needed help, you know, from somewhere. And I'd like you to share with us how you were able to survive, you know, with that, in spite of not having as much donor support.
Again, with Pratt, I can tell you that we made 3 vaccines from our...
made vaccine?
3 from our scientifics. And it was another dream from Fidel Castro. He prepared biotechnology place, a huge one in Cuba, and he made some things just for the scientists to be trained. And we made 3 vaccines, those that I have in my body, my cousin, my son, all the Cuban people. One is Abdallah, is the name of one poem of Jose Marti, our national hero. And there is a brave man, Abdallah. And the other is Soberana, that means sovereignty. And the third one is Mambisa. That is, Mambisa is the name of the woman that fight for the revolution, in the war of Cuba. We did it.
So when the rest of us were just waiting for handouts from the Western world, Cuba went ahead and made its own vaccines.
But we, for example, we couldn't share our vaccines openly because we don't have all the conditions for the OMS. Is the Organization of Health. They to allow us to do it because they need some standards, and this is very difficult.
But that's the vaccine that you took.
Yes, all of us.
Your own vaccines.
Yes.
And you gave the vaccines
Iran,
culturally
hot, and
significant
Haiti, hot,
names.
yeah. Yes.
Teach us.
We
You
tried.
need to teach us. Teach the rest of the world. Teach us how to go.
I don't think, I don't think we have to teach you, but I do think that we have to exchange our experiences. We have to work together, South, South, and that cooperation must be in the same level. We do understand. I know Cuba is an inspiration because it's a small island and is doing things that normally many big countries cannot do. But I can tell you that if we share our experiences, we can be huge, huge. We can be huge because Ghana has many things, and then Zimbabwe have many things, and then Namibia has many things, and Venezuela and Brazil. All of us in the South, if we are together, we can get more. We can reach a huge point. We don't need the North if we are together.
If we are together. Let me bring this issue again back to on the embargo. I think there's something that I missed. For 31 times, the UN has tried, let me rephrase my question very well.
Let me help you.
I need it. 31 times there's been voting in the UN to try to end the US sanctions on Cuba. 31 times. 31 times. Why do you think it's not successful?
That is a resolution that we present on the General Assembly. Normally, those resolutions, the countries, they don't have to apply them. It is the countries telling what they think about it. I was reading a few days ago some statements of the European Union, actually from the Spanish representative there, talking about how the blockade affect their businessmen. Then this opportunity of the countries to say I'm not agreeing with the blockade is a political thing. How can we change the United States policy? It's very, very difficult because they are huge. They have, fingers everywhere. It's a difficult thing. But we can change the way in that we can do things. We can make more things together. And then maybe this 65th anniversary can be a start, can be a beginning for a new era between the relations, in the relations between Cuba and Ghana. A new beginning for us. It depends on us.
Where we take it. Where you take it. I see you've been one of the most successful ambassadors ever.
No,
ever.
I don't think.
Ever.
I don't think.
Ever. So successful, right? And it's because it's heart. I have to say, it's heart. What has been your personal philosophy when you were coming to Ghana, as ambassador? What did you hope to do with your time here? What was your plan? What did you want to do?
I don't think it's as an ambassador. I think everyone must believe. If you believe it, you can get it. And then I believe that Cuba needs the work of all of us. And if every person in Ghana, for example, decided to help Ghana, you will be better. In Cuba, we are trying to do it, and that resilience is the one that we are using to continue working. Yes, the resilience, is the one that we are doing to be better. And that's what I'm trying to do here. To be altruistic is the only way you can get things for a people. We ambassadors, I'm not important. I didn't do anything superior. I just try to help the Ghanaian people and to try to help the Cuban people. That's what we can do to help our societies, to make them closer. If we do that in every country, imagine how deep will be our bonds, how deep will be our relations.
Right. I mean, countless times you did health programs across the country. right?
Yes, and that's why I got twice coronavirus and one malaria and one typhoid fever.
You got them?
All of
Oh
them.
God,
All of
sorry.
them. All of them.
You got
all of them.
typhoid.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. No, but it's okay. That happens when you don't stop. When you don't stop. But I'm so confident that I can make a change. But not me as a person. You know, as a, I'm an entity of change because I'm a woman first, and then I'm proud of being a woman. Second, I'm a Cuban. Then, if you are a Cuban, you have a responsibility. Because the people see you like you can do things like you're a magician. Sometimes they come to me for advice and I say, oh my God, I don't know, but I have to answer. I have to answer.
You are
because
grandma.
I'm Cuban. I'm the grandma. You see, I'm the grandma.
But thank you. Thank you. Oh, I can't leave without talking about the things you've planted around, Cuba. What you've planted. I've seen the molds in the backyard. What is this? A cassava?
Yes. We have here everything full. We have mint, we have basil, we have coriander, we have cassava, sweet potato around the swimming pool. We have plantain, we have tomato, oregano, or even hibiscus for sobolo. Yes.
Wait.
Yes, and eggplants. We are eating eggplants
Wait,
from there.
No,
Yeah.
Your Excellency. Hold on, Your Excellency. So you do sobolo.
Yes, but we do it in a way that is different because we don't add the
Spices.
Yes, what's the name of the ginger? We don't add ginger because I don't like it, but it's very tasty.
What do you add to your
cloves, only cloves,
Okay.
and a lemon finish.
Is this something you know from Cuba, or do you pick it from
In
here?
Cuba, they do it in the eastern part of the country, and the name is water from Jamaica. Because maybe in Jamaica they brought it, I don't know.
Right.
But
you call it water from Jamaica.
yes. And it's very good. It's tasty. Yeah.
Right. I hope from now you will just call it sobolo.
Yes, I'm doing that. I'm doing that all the time. And normally to my friends, I give them sobolo here. And your father, he likes the sobolo as I do it. And also Blaze. And but that's normally, it's part of our life now. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. And, we can't leave the show without some music. We cannot end the show without some music.
That's an ambush. Yeah, ambush. Yeah,
it is an ambush. It is.
Oh my God.
But I mean, so it's one of the most cultural things about Cuba, isn't it? Dance.
Yes.
Dance. Are you born with rhythm? Is there something you eat that gives you rhythm, that gives you flexibility?
I can tell you that I didn't study that. I don't know.
Right.
I think it's something that you can train.
Training.
Yes. Also, you can train that.
I've been training my legs for a while, but
let me tell you, in the school, all the boys, they know they have to learn how to dance casino, that is the Cuban salsa. If not, they won't get a girlfriend. It's part of us. And those that knows how to play the guitar, they are successful. It's part of the culture.
You are a romantic people.
Yes, we are very. That's why we made the revolution. Only romantic people, they are fighting against a big country like the United States. And
I love that. I love what you just said.
Yeah, we are romantic, yeah.
Normally when we think about romance, we just think of, man, woman, romance. But romance is deeper, isn't it? It's
Yes.
deep love. It's passionate love for state, for cause, passion. And it's the only way we can make change, no?
We need love to live. We need love to live. Not only Cubans, human beings. We need love to live. If you don't have love, if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a light to take you to another level, what for do you live?
Right?
And then you need that, and you need to love people. Not to love people in the way that you are telling me, a man, and that's part of it. Yeah, that's important. That's very important. But you need to love people from heart. You need to help them, not because you need something in return. It's only because.
Right.
And,
Right. we need music. What music would you recommend? I mean, if I want to learn how to dance salsa, what would you recommend?
It depends. For example, Bam Bam. What are we listening there? Bam Bam is
Yes, Your Excellency, if you may, I would like for you to show us. Please hold your thing. Yes, please hold.
this. Oh my God!
Yes.
Then I have to.
You have to.
But
Teach
that's
us.
very
Teach
difficult.
us.
That's very difficult. Can we change it?
Something faster. So what is this one?
Actually, we can dance that, but this is an old
It's old.
music.
Can we
Yes,
get a new
I
one,
do prefer.
please?
Yes, I sent them one. Maybe
Right.
they can use it.
Change it. So teach us. For instance, in Ghana,
Okay.
our base music is high life. What would it be in Cuba?
No, in Cuba we have many rhythm. They are from Cuba, like cha-cha-cha, Mozambique,
Cha-cha-cha.
mambo, casino. But casino is part of salsa, danzón,
Right.
contradanza.
Right.
We have many rhythms from Cuba.
Right.
Because we are a musical country, and then we have many musicians and many people that love to dance, and we have many programs of those people to dance and many schools of dance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Who would be your favorite trending musician in Cuba?
It depends, but if we talk about bolero, I love.
Como una música singular.
Then we have to dance.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Incitándolos a bailar. Pero al pasar el
This is
tiempo
rhythm.
todo fue cambiando y en la
But you know, we dance with that part of the body.
es mejor.
But this is a dance with a partner. It's not to dance alone.
Por eso ahora con este songo a todo el mundo quiero expresar que sí, que sí, que sí, que sí se puede bailar de todo. Ser tan bueno y chabacán.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
so
Thank you.
much. Well,
Let me dance. Yeah.
US. I mean, lovely time in Cuba here. We are celebrating 65 years of Cuba-Ghana diplomatic relations. I can't say enough how much I love Her Excellency. But also today, I think that she has extended that love for me to Cuba. What I'm taking away from this conversation is just heart. Passionate, romantic people who live, for their country. I like to think that Ghanaians, we are just like that. Perhaps there's more for us to do, but when we do better. We know better. We do better. So happy 65 years
Thank you
anniversary
very
to
much.
us.
But let me tell something to the Ghanaian people. Can I do it here?
Please.
Then it's important you to know that we will continue with this Team Cuba. Then follow us in our digital media, and will be very good if you join us in this to win. Win to the Team Uzbek. I'm so sorry for you. You will lose. You will lose. You will lose. I'm very competitive.
But yeah, let's follow on social media. You have
Yes.
an Instagram page.
Yes,
you
and
have a
also
page.
Facebook and Twitter. Yes.
And the hashtag is
Is 65 Cuba Ghana.
Ghana.
And also we have another is Team Cuba Ghana.
Team Cuba Ghana.
Yes,
Team Cuba
yes.
Ghana. And we welcome here. Can we just come to Cuba?
Yes, you are. Actually, you are here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
you
Well,
very
thank you for watching. I hope that you know more about Cuba. I hope that when you're making your holiday list, you will add Cuba, you will add Havana. Beautiful beaches, great food, amazing people. Have a lovely evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you very much. Hey, that's the music, you see? That's